Hi, welcome to Glam Ghoulish Ghost Stories. I'm your host as usual. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. So if you like ghost stories, true crime, cryptids, other general spooky phenomena, aliens, cults, that kind of thing, please give us a like and check out our content. We recently went to Milledgeville and we went to the Central State Hospital ruins, and that was a doozy of a depressing experience, but also extremely amazing and valuable, and especially with the people we met, it was pretty cool. So we are still editing some awesome episodes from various places in Georgia, so stay tuned for those long form episodes, but also weekly for our smaller subcategories as well. I really wanted to incorporate this in my decor, but I'm just getting settled with my very cheaply made backdrop, so the teeth will have to sit on my desk. So today, we're going to skip on over to the University of Georgia, which I attended for undergrad as a theater major, surprise, surprise, and now I'm attending for social work, because it's really the people in theater and social work and ghost hunting that make all of the money, which is why I am talking to you in front of a sheet held up by a shower rod. So, hi. This is so stupid. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit of gory FX makeup, and I am in no way trained to do this. This is just something I kind of picked up over the years, and I'm trying to have fun with it. So here we go. As I said, today we're going over to the University of Georgia. I was born and raised in Athens, went to school here twice. There's a lot of stories over here. Recently, I actually did a piece with my other friend Carly, who also likes ghosts, and her podcast, Boo Hoo, will be coming out. Not sure exactly when, but I will keep y'all updated. It's so good to have just liquid latex just around, as well as blood. In this town, usually there's 2 or 3 Halloween stores that open up in August. Spirit is the best. We all know this. Sometimes there's a bad one that opens that has like fluorescent lighting and like really bad costumes. I'm a super snob though, so I never buy my costumes. I always ask my mother to make them for me because I'm 32. This year, she is going to make me a Lizzie Borden outfit, and I'm so excited. I'm the same age that Lizzie was when she did her father was financially abusive. Free Britney. Okay, well, this carpet is just toast. It's already got fake blood all over it, So today we're going to be discussing a little story that happened in a dorm, it was a dorm. Now it is an office/class room. So the University of Georgia has been around for a hot minute. In fact, I believe they're at odds with some other southern state school, maybe in North Carolina, over which one is actually the oldest. So but it's pretty old. I mean, it's been around a long time, as long as you can get, in America. So it's no Oxford, but it's old for us. So there's a lot of buildings on the UGA campus that are still intact from the very early days. And one of those buildings, which I'll mention first, is the Fine Arts Building. And the Fine Arts Building is right across from our main topic, which is Joe Brown Hall. So if you're on North Campus, close to downtown, you're going to pass right between those two. And those are still active buildings. I spent most of my undergrad in fine arts. And apparently there is a ghost that is not particularly mean that resides over at the Fine Arts Building. Okay, so I actually didn't know about this ghost until recently. I had never heard about him when I actually went to UGA as a theater student. I did hear about some odd things happening in fine arts. Like my friend Vicky said that her friend, who I didn't know, was in the bathroom in the basement and she saw a dismembered floating head. So that's cool, and I totally believe her. I never saw it myself, unfortunately, but it was a creepy old building, so I'm really not surprised that there's some shenanigans going on. I recently found out about this ghost, and he's a really goofy name, and I'm sorry. I love to like pick up garbage in the cemetery and like tell the dead thank you when I picnic near their tombstone. But sometimes you see a silly name. This goofball's name is James O. James. Apparently he's a poltergeist, but I mean, that kind of is a good name for a poltergeist because you want to kind of sound like a leprechaun if you're going to be haunting a fine arts building. And apparently this dude makes his name appear on the programs. Just, you know, not like murdering anyone. This thing, it's Stephanie, and she's like a ghost. And she's like, no, we're not gonna get anybody. We're not gonna get anybody. You were just gonna like throw a ball down a hallway. Thought that was so funny. Actually, all ghost humor I find amusing, especially when it's about white people that move into a house trying to start over. And they're like, oh my God, somebody died here, but it doesn't matter. My husband won't cheat on me again. That's a little tidbit on James O. James. Apparently he's very mischievous and not at all malevolent, just kind of, you know, an ass. But no, we're going to hop over across the street to Joe Brown Hall. I have latex all over my foot. That's fun. But Joe Brown Hall was constructed as a men's dormitory in 1932, in which the university had already been open for a hot second by then. And of course, the buildings change over time. The hall itself is named after a governor. Of course, you know, Confederate guy, so la-di-da. This story goes back and forth. Different sources say that it happened over summer break, but most of the sources I found and I always heard, you know, growing up and going to school, was that this happened over Christmas break or Thanksgiving break, sometime in the winter. So the boys were going home for whatever break it was, most likely in the winter. And then when they came back, a boy had died by suicide. According to the North Campus walking tour, even the janitors couldn't get the smell out of the dormitory. So everybody was severely affected when they came back from their holiday. And not only was this man hanging, but it stunk. So when the boys came back, they apparently initially smelled him before they actually found him. He was the only one that stayed behind for the Thanksgiving holidays. So that was horrific. And this really happened. This is not a legend. This actually happened in the early 70s. So I even have some newspaper clippings for you that I can barely read because it's so tiny. Oh, and some of the other headlines are quite interesting as well. Again, I'm not the best special effects makeup artist in the entire world. I'm not claiming that I am, but I've always kind of wanted to like do a cut on my face and just go to work and just be like acting normal and see who's the first to tell me, hey, did you get shot in the face? And be like, no, what are you talking about? The janitors also claimed that in addition to not being able to cover up the stench, they could also not get the blood off the floor. It was one of those continuous bloody situations. And according to the other boys in the dormitory, there was no sign that this man was planning on killing himself. So it was a complete shock and a completely traumatic event for everyone involved, especially those janitors. Here's where the magic happens. At some point, I need to bust out some of my weird old drawings and poems from when I was little and read them to you because they're really creepy and weird. So what's strange about this situation is that after the body was taken down and the janitors attempted to clean up the scene, they decided to board up the dorm. Not the entire dorm, but just the room. So it was still a room, but it was just sealed off. And in the most creepy and obvious way, they call it the staircase to nowhere because for some reason, somebody thought it would be a good idea to board up and paint over the entrance to the hallway where the boy killed himself and cover it up with this creepy ass mural of exactly what the hallway would look like. So it's like you're looking up this staircase that you can't actually go anywhere once you're on top of it. And there it's plastered over with a painting of what the hallway actually looks like. So it's kind of like when somebody is just trying so hard to not be obvious, and in effect they're like acting even weirder. It's very strange, and it's still there. You can go walk up and see it. I had a class in that building actually, and I saw it firsthand, and it's very, very strange. And people say you can still go up and knock on the wall and it's hollow in there, so the room is still fully intact. By the way, aren't I getting better at fake lashes? Yes, is the answer. Still no Bailey Sarian, that's for sure, in both my makeup application and my storytelling. Ugh. I'm not supposed to look cute right now anyway, so it doesn't matter. There were a couple of shows that, like paranormal investigation shows, that did a sequence on this area. And they did find some God, I'm such a bad ghost hunter. Electromagnetic activity and a temperature drop. I don't ever want to gatekeep because I feel bad when, like, you know, I haven't seen all 5,000 horror movies that are ever made. There's way more than that, but I have a list going right now and there's a solid 4,000 already on there. But as time goes by, I'm trying to get more and more obscure. So we're talking Stairway to Nowhere, still available, still kicking it over on North Campus. This is a story that I've known about for a very long time, but today I was kind of reorienting myself to it and the details, and some details I didn't know. There was a Reddit thread that I found, which is honestly how I do a lot of my research because, you know, I'm not a scientist. I'm in school, but this is for fun, so Reddit will have to do. I'm just going to read some funny comments from the Reddit thread about this case. I can tell you for certain from having multiple classes in there that the building still smells like absolute shit. On a more serious note, somebody writes, I was a freshman at UGA that year, 1972. I believe it was the end of winter quarter. Joe Brown was the graduate men's dorm. I remember seeing the fire trucks and crowd gathering when they found the body. I was probably on my way to or from an English class in Park Hall. And yes, that first report you linked to, while entertaining, is almost completely wrong. And I'll get to that in one moment. Oh man, I love doing this. Now I'm just having a blast. And honestly, it's a Monday night. I think I'll just go on a walk like this. It's late June, you know, people are just like, what? Last year for Halloween, I was Marie Antoinette, and so I essentially did the same type of thing, but it was to my neck. And I'm kind of excited for this year because I don't have to have a gash on myself. I just get to be covered in blood from, you know, axe murder. I might have talked about this before, but I don't really care. Lizzie Borden, I know she did it, like, beyond a reasonable doubt. I know there's some things about her uncle and, you know, a couple of minor suspects, but I know she did it. It's just, things were so awful for women back then, and her dad was a jerk. And I know it's not nice to axe murder people, but she's not the worst of them, okay? Let's compare and contrast some other killers from history, and we shall find that Miss Elizabeth, or Lizbeth as they called her, was really not that bad, okay? I will die on that hill. She lived to be really old too, and she lived to be free, and when she was incarcerated, they gave her a bunch of opium, which, jealous, just kidding. Okay, you know, I still got it. In 2017, I literally went to work like this. Like, I worked at a bagel shop, and I went to work like this, because that's who I am as a person. What are you gonna be for Halloween? Last year, COVID ruined everything, and this year we're gonna be twice as crazy, right? Yes. Let's cut. Okay. Okay, sweetie, you're not a vampire, okay? So I have some newspaper scans from March 2nd, 1972. The Red and Black, which is still the name of our newspaper. Body found strangled in dorm room. A university sophomore was found dead in his room in Joe Brown Hall yesterday afternoon. Okay, that's where it gets strange, because this was written in March and everyone else is saying November. So that's where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit. Little confusing. University police released his name as Stanley Park Haddock of Atlanta late last night after an autopsy was conducted. Public Safety Director Edward T. Kessinger, I'm sorry, this text is so tiny, said the body was found around 2 p.m. by a janitor. It's always the janitor that finds the bodies, isn't it? God, they don't pay janitors enough. The body was resident assistant. Yes. The body was found in a position which indicated possible suicide. Autopsy results are incomplete, but Curtis said there is no evidence of foul play. What does that even mean, foul play? Like the mafia? I don't know. It's, if somebody's hanging from their dorm room ceiling, I would say that the play is foul in some way, even if it's just emotionally. Athens Banner Herald, that's our other newspaper. Student found dead in dorm. And this was on March 2nd as well. So this is really weird. It wasn't Thanksgiving. It was winter quarter, which we don't do quarters anymore, but it's still 1972. So pretty much the same information here. The top article on this page I didn't notice. Athenian sentenced to life for murder. James Scott of Athens for the murder of Artie Chandler, a local beer root salesman. Well, I guess we'll have to dig into that one next time, because I didn't know about it. There's also a tiny little article that says ghost stands up waiting students. And I guess that means that they were expecting the ghost and he didn't come, which is like the story of my life, because I'm always like, ghost, ghost, hello. And they never. There was another article that I found, well, not so much an article, more like a pre-Reddit forum discussion type deal, blogish type thing. From 1994 until 1997, the news group Alt.Tasteless enjoyed a period as the representative of cruder aspects of the counterculture of the net. So basically just a very early, like, 4chan, I guess. There was a story written by somebody, Dr. Grogan, pseudonym, of course. Basically, they're trying to change this story into an urban legend, where a professor was into some kinky business and decided to asphyxiate himself via hanging. Don't make fun of me, because I don't know anything about the kink community. The person writing this is trying to say that a professor, I think a German professor, because it's always German professors, am I right? Ugh, weird. That he was into some stuff, and one night he took it too far and he hung himself. And that is not the real story, but I love how it's written. For example, as is often the case with the solo wheeze jerker, he slipped up one day, literally. He came off the chair and hung by the belt strap. Apparently, he was already in a weakened state and was unable to free himself. Our Gasper hung there for at least a month. Georgia summers are notoriously hot, so again, we're in the wrong time period. Most sources say Thanksgiving, but then the newspapers all say March. And then this one's summer, and it's a weird professor who liked to choke himself at work. Professor, what are you doing? He was eventually discovered, however, and the extent of his decay was such that, as I mentioned, photos of the scene are still used in the academy for training new recruits. Training them for what? I still don't know. How to recognize a dead body? Say, Sarge, this skin's is black and mushy. He's bloated to 3 times his normal size. I think he's dead. So that's kind of where truth meets legend. There's a very interesting intersection between what is real and verified and what kind of takes on a mind of its own. And I find it interesting where that line is, because there's plenty of horrible stuff that happens in the world. There's plenty of death and murder, suicide, hate crimes, all sorts of things that are so much worse. I was telling my friends yesterday, I would so much rather a little gremlin be sucking on my toe and a Japanese water ghost to be eating my cereal than to have to deal with, like, you know, sadness and loneliness. Really, I'm probably getting too into this because I'm currently taking a trauma class at school, but ghosts really are just trauma. You never see a happy ghost. Even Casper the Friendly Ghost was like a little dead boy, you know? It's sad. And arguably Beetlejuice is not traumatized or sad, but he is very mentally ill. This is the first time I'm using this lip gloss. If you remember from the first episode, I had really crappy lip gloss, and now I have better lip gloss, and it smells like cake. But what I find interesting is if they knew that this guy, if they knew his name and they knew when he died and they had his body, that's a fact. So why come up with some crazy story about a German professor who liked to choke himself? I'm not saying why as in that's dumb. I love how legends evolve over time, but I just wonder who thought, you know what, this story of this very sad individual hanging himself over winter break, it's just not doing it for me. It's just not spicy enough. So I'm going to zhuzh it up a little bit. And I mean, yeah, that's what happens. I mean, that's how Momo, you know, that dumb looking bird thing that was haunting YouTube, it started out as a sculpture and then it became a whole thing. And that's essentially kind of like the old creepypastas before we had the internet, when all we had was our voices and our words. Of course, this was like a very early internet forum, 1985, 1997, I don't know. All I remember is when the internet, when I first had the internet, I used it solely for Star Wars purposes. So if you ever come to Athens, there's a lot of very interesting history here in terms of ghosts. Susie Carruthers over at Alpha Delta Gamma, which is interesting because the most haunted sorority house in Milledgeville is also ADG. So there's something about them. Oh, this lipstick's so velvety. I'm gonna wear it to work. Be like, who's that goth girl that loves Excel spreadsheets? She's amazing. I woke up and I was like, am I dead? Like, I was so confused. So UGA, at least when I was an undergrad, they had a walking tour of North Campus and all of the ghosts, the Demosthenian Hall and the Oak Tree and Joe Brown Hall and the Arts Building and all that cool stuff. And then, of course, there's various sororities and fraternities. There's the Tierra Cobb House, which is a really pretty establishment as well. There's the Linden House, and there's the Taylor Grady House. Very, very large, very pretty houses with ghosts inside of them. I think it's pretty obvious that if you're on this channel that you know who I am. I think that it's, you know, and if you say the Joker, get out. One time I was Beetlejuice for Halloween, and I did the full like face, like, you know, the purple and the green and the like pale. And for some reason I could not for the life of me find any black and white striped fabric. And so I had to go with the second option, which is Beetlejuice's tuxedo that he tries to marry a Mary Lydia in the burgundy number. And so my mom, again, fabulous seamstress, love her so much. She made me a Beetlejuice tuxedo with like a little bow tie, and I did all of my makeup. And some jerk was like, "Hey, Joker." And I was like, "I'm gonna kill you." Okay, there's some Joker stuff that's really cool, but then there's all the Joker cringe, which hopefully you know what I'm talking about. It's just, it's really rough. I am the Black Dahlia. If I look like this, it's not the Joker, so thank you. Again, check out our videos on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. We are churning out content. We have so much in the wings for y'all. And I really enjoy talking to you about spooky things and history. I love you so much. Bye.